everyone, welcome back to the Library of Parthos. My name is Sarah, and today I have a delicious book to share with you, and that is The Book Eaters by Sunyi. I have a lot to say about this book. It was a lot. It was great. So first of all, I got this book in illumicrate, I think. And was like, oh, that sounds like a cool story. I'll read it next October, like around Halloween, because I already have my October TBR picked out. Don't know what I'm going to do in November, but I probably won't get to it then. And I just happened to be browsing Goodreads and saw that this was up for a Goodreads award. So I decided, well, I should probably read it sooner rather than later. And I'm so glad that I did. I can't believe I was going to wait on this one. My goodness. So I could rant and rave for a really long time about this book, but let's go ahead and get into a quick summary, and then I'll share some of my thoughts. Trying to keep it spoiler free if I can. This is the story of Devon Fairweather. She is a book eater. And so I'll get into all of the cultural aspects and like what exactly that means when I get to the spoiler section of the video. But her son is born as a mind eater, which is slightly different and slightly frowned upon by the book eater community. So she is faced with trying to escape the family that she is familiar with and to keep her son alive, even though her means of doing so have been diminished and are much harder to come by. That's probably where I gotta keep it. I don't want to give too much away, but to get into some spoilers, first of all, what I kept thinking while I was reading this book is this was what I was looking for in the book Only a Monster, which I have a review of that. I was a little disappointed in that story because they kept talking about this monster culture, and I didn't really feel like, other than food, we got to see any of the monster culture, or at least we got to see very little of it. In contrast, we got to see a lot of the book eater culture, and that's what really drew me in and kept my interest, was the fact that, first of all, we have these beings, book eaters and mind eaters, who are very similar to humans but also very different. So according to them, they were created by the collector to gain knowledge by eating books. And then he's going to come back for them. But they're kind of at the point where they're not thinking that's going to happen because it's been a really long time. All of the book eater families are dwindling. There aren't very many people left. And so they're just trying to survive. So we find out, at least for the Fairweathers, which is where Devon grew up, they're kind of outdated with society. They're very like old-fashioned, but they hold very strictly to these expectations that have been set for them. So female book eaters are fairly rare. So when Devon is born, she is treated like a princess. And she is raised by her uncles and aunts, though you don't get to see them very much. And she is treated as a princess, and she grows up eating fairy tales and hearing all of these stories about how princesses are, you know, pampered and rescued. And so she thinks, well, I'm so lucky to be a princess. Everything is going to be taken care of for me. And part of being a princess is essentially she's sold off as a bride to other families. And so she is married off to a man from another family for a period of roughly 3 to 4 years. As soon as she has a child, she is then given 3 years to raise that child before she has to leave. And this is the way that the book eater families have always operated. And Devon knows going into this that this is the expectation for her. However, what she doesn't realize is the bond that she's going to grow with her daughter. And so it becomes very, very difficult for her to leave. And she becomes kind of a big problem for not only her family, the Fairweathers, but the family that she's been married into. So eventually she leaves that arrangement, returns home. She's expected to bear one more child before she can just kind of live out her life in peace. So she's married off again, where she is at a very different household this time. They're very modern, very into like the human world, and so she is exposed to a lot more graphic novels and manga. She's able to eat. She plays video games with her friend Jero that she makes there. And this time when she has a child, it is born as a mind eater. And a mind eater is different than a book eater because they don't eat books. They can, but they don't. Mind eaters instead eat the minds of humans. And so they have like this really long, I think it's like an 8-inch tongue that they can like stick into people's ears and like suck out their brain. So that sounds pretty nasty. So of course these mind eaters are looked down upon. Now there are some other differences between book eaters and mind eaters. For example, book eaters cannot write, no matter how hard they try, they're just incapable. Mind eaters can write. There is a family, the Ravenscars, who have developed a drug called redemption. And if a mind eater takes that drug, they can survive off of eating books. They don't have the teeth that are required for it, so they have to eat, rather than just like chomping down on a book, they do have to like rip up the pages and stuff, but they are able to survive on books rather than eating human brains, kind of like zombies, I guess. So Devin has the same issue that she has before. She doesn't want to leave her son. Now she knows that because he's a mind eater, he's not going to be able to stay in the house, that he eventually is going to have to go to a facility where they house dragons and knights. So knights are just book eaters who are able to arrange the different marriages between the families, and dragons are the mind eaters that they are able to control using redemption. So she knows that that is the fate that awaits her son. And it's not really until her husband comes to take her son away from her that she realizes once again she's not okay with this, and she puts up a fight and is able to escape. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this book is Devin's like realization that her perception of things and reality are very, very different. For example, she was told she was a princess this whole time she's growing up. She ate fairy tales, so she had all these expectations for how her life was going to turn out, and though she tried to just grin and bear it, it was really, really difficult for her. And it turned out to not be the life that she wanted. And so I thought that that was a really interesting to learn as the story went on, and to see that her expectations were so different from how everything turned out. Something else that I really appreciated about this book is seeing Devin's, again, her perception versus what actually occurs, how she perceives being a parent. You know, at first she thinks, oh, I'm gonna have this kid, it's fine, I'll get over it, and then I'm gonna leave and I'll get to live whatever life I want to after that. Well, within the realm of what the family's expectations are. However, she doesn't expect the attachment she's going to feel with her daughter, and she doesn't expect how hard it's going to be to leave. And similarly with her son Kai, when he's born, she thinks, I just have to endure this to get back to my daughter. There's a possibility I'll get to see her again once I'm through with this arrangement. Don't get attached, don't get attached. And of course she gets attached when he's born, and then met with the fear that he's a mind eater and she doesn't know what his fate's going to be because of that. Along with that, there is just some fear because of what he is. There are times where like Kai is very hungry because it's been a while since he's eaten, or they're out of redemption, and he'll kind of like nuzzle up to her ear, and she is afraid because of course she doesn't want him to like suck out her brains. So balancing that like fear of her child and also fear for her child and love for him and wanting to protect him, but also being afraid and having to protect herself from him. And then when they're on the run, when they're away from the families and trying to find the Ravenscars so that they can get a supply of redemption so that Kai doesn't have to eat people anymore. He's 5, but his personality changes every time he eats somebody. And so Devin does the best that she can with finding him good people to eat. She always asks somebody, are you a kind person? But he still takes on the personality traits of those people. So she's also dealing with the balance of, he's her 5-year-old son, but he acts like a 50-year-old man. And she doesn't know like how much of him is still in there and how much are these people that he eats. And he frequently says like, I'm 25 different people because I've eaten 25 different people. So I just thought this was a great analogy of just parenting in general, right? You have this desire to protect and to help kids, but also that fear for what's going to happen to them. I highly recommend this book. It was a little bit of a heavier read than a lot of the stuff I've been reading lately, so I would definitely say more in the adult fantasy realm versus YA. So it did take me a little bit longer to go through. There were a lot of literary references in here, which I really appreciated, and a lot of quotes from books that I've never read but have added to a list that I'd like to read someday. So last thing, I would like to share the very first sentence of the book. Okay, this was the line, like literally this was the line that got me. These days, Devin only bought 3 things from the shops: books, booze, and sensitive skincare cream. The books she ate, the booze kept her sane, and the lotion was for Kai, her son. Highly recommend if you've not read the book Eaters, check it out. If you have, I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.